Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Stock Market Today. It's Alissa, Coram, and Ed Carson here. And Ed, we typically talk about actionable stocks or stocks nearing buy points on the show. That's not quite the case today with the three names that we're going to be talking about.
No, it was a really ugly late afternoon sell-off, and we're going to take a look at Tesla, Fastly, and Fortinet. These are all three leading stocks that did not have particularly strong days today.
Yeah, but first let's take a look at those major indexes. This is a chart of the Nasdaq, which, as you mentioned, Ed, started off strong, but finished lower for the day quite significantly, down 2.1% by the close, while the S&P 500 finished down almost 1%. The Dow did hang on to a slight gain, but it does appear that there was some rotation in the market today.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it out of software, and some of the high flyers, they got hit pretty hard, and there weren't too many great winners among the leaders. I mean, a few eked out some tiny gains like the Dow, but there's California shutdowns that are going to be reimposed, and the LA schools aren't going to reopen this fall. It's really sinking in maybe that the economic recovery may not be as strong as investors have been hoping for. But if you look at the Nasdaq, ever since the April breakout, the follow through, every couple of weeks, the Nasdaq has had some sort of pullback. I mean, often very temporary. I mean, still we haven't had any back-to-back losses for the Nasdaq since say early May. But it's, there are situations. This is something to notice, often coming down toward the 21-day moving average. Even with today's sell-off, we're still significantly above that 21-day. So I think that investors need to be in more of a defensive mindset. Some stocks sold off pretty hard. Some breached through their 21-day lines. But, if the Nasdaq went down to the 21-day line, that would be normal. You just want to be thinking about your portfolio and your stocks. How would you, assuming, what would happen if the Nasdaq came down to that? How would your stocks and portfolio be doing, and what action you should be taking now, if any?
Right. Exactly. And we were talking about that on IBD Live late last week. So being prepared for something like this is something that we were already thinking about. And we were also talking about how we were already bumping up against the high of that upper channel line. So this was definitely a scenario that was in the realm of possibility today. And like you said, we could see a trip down to the 21-day line, even that 10,000 level. So all things that we need to be keeping in mind. But let's turn our attention to Tesla, because this has been a big high flyer during this rally and just stunning gains over the last 2 weeks. We were pegging an entry here over the 870 level, then again over 1,028-ish. But this just shows you why you definitely don't want to be chasing stocks like this, Ed.
Absolutely. I mean, if you bought, say, around that 1027 level, I mean, the stock went up 61% in 2 weeks. So if it's down 3% ultimately today, I mean, you don't like their downside reversal, but you're still up a lot, and you can understandably hold on to it. But if you bought near the top here, you could be down close to 20%. And that, and it's normal action, and it could keep falling. I'm not saying this stock will, or some of the other stocks we're talking about, but you just have to remember that's what can happen with these things. That's why we talk about buying at proper locations, because the odds are in your favor that it'll continue to rise, and it'll rise strongly. You buy out in the middle of nowhere like that, and yes, it can go up, but it could also reverse very sharply lower.
Yeah, you can get burned. And then I guess the other strategic piece of this to discuss is, if you did buy right, when do you lock in those profits? There's a couple of different mindsets, because IBD's methodology does say to lock in some profits at a 20 to 25% gain. But like you said, with the last 2 weeks, investors could have seen, double or triple that. So, are you trimming some on the way up? Are you letting it ride till it, closes below that 10-week line, which it is just in nosebleed territory from that level?
Yeah, I mean, normally we say if it goes up 20% in that first couple of weeks, then you want to try to hold it for 8 weeks. That doesn't mean you can't take. Too. I mean, you could try to take some, there's nothing wrong with taking a partial profit, or even just taking a profit. I mean, if you walked away with a stock with 50% gain after 2 or 3 weeks, you can't be too upset. But I mean, it depends on your conviction of stock, and some people like to sell into strength. Some people just say, I'm going to wait till it gets to that. It's definitely an art. But you just have to think, this is why you try to think about, like tonight, think about your stocks. Think about, well, what would be my line in the sand? What would be the kind of situations, and what would I do? Do it when your emotions are cool. you know, as opposed to, oh my
Right.
goodness, my stocks are all falling. I need to, you know, and don't want to be panicking. So you want to be doing this and try to get a game plan going.
Yeah, because not only do we have the overall market conditions to worry about, but it's also earnings season
Oh,
is
yes.
upon us. So that also is adding to the potential market environment that we could see. And Fastly also had a rough day today, down over 12%, closing below its 10-day line. Now it is still above its 21-day line, but this is a stock also that has just seen stunning gains in this rally, but falling pretty hard today.
Falling pretty hard. And so it wasn't, again, if you bought it way down around 25 or so, you know, somewhere in that zone, obviously you're way, way up, and you might say, I'm just going to hold this. I'm way up. I'm not doing anything else. There were a couple little entries, maybe like a week or so ago, there was a tiny little entry there. Maybe if you added some shares there, you would want to be getting out because, you know, you obviously saw it turn negative on that. But it's just something, this is, again, just another example. Why, even with a hot stock, yes, they can have these really nasty sell-offs. So you need to buy appropriately. And if you do add on shares, add on very small amounts. So, you know, you don't get your average cost too high and all of a sudden turn this massive winner into, you know, a very high risk situation.
Right. And, you know, maybe Fastly can put in a bottom here and find some support around the 80 level, form a new base. That would be a positive development. Now let's turn our attention to Fortinet in the security software group, closing below its 50-day line today with a loss of over 10%, just after breaking out over. This was the one where we drew all those fun lines last
That's
week.
right.
A lot of different ways to interpret the buy points here, but a pretty decisive sell signal today.
Yeah, when you sell through all those, you know, all those sell signals and right there through the 50-day line, through the 10-week line, it's, you know, it's a pretty good reason to be getting out. Probably on the, certainly on the high end, you're definitely below the 7 to 8% sell rule. You know, and this is a situation, a lot of cloud software got hit, but this is one that was just breaking out. So some of the recent breakouts, you know, you're just going to have to get out in some of those situations because they are not looking good here. Could it bounce back? Sure. But then a lot of other things might bounce back too. There's a lot of other opportunities that might develop, including this one. So it's just definitely a time to be maybe a little bit more defensive and just, you know, always have to be flexible. Maybe in a day from now, people will be saying, go back on offense. But, you know, right
Right.
now it's going to be more of a defensive take.
Yes. Well, if I could predict one thing, it's that we will have a lot to discuss tomorrow morning on IBD Live. Plenty of things to discuss here with this current market as always. So we hope you join us over at investors.com/IBD Live. That's our daily morning live stream where our experts are sharing their screens, breaking down the broad market action, talking about actionable stocks, but also your game plan as an investor, which Ed, you touched on a lot of great stuff here during this conversation too.
Yeah, a lot of hedging and just a lot of hedging discussions. It's really going to be really an important IBD Live tomorrow morning, I think.
Yes, definitely tune in there, and we will see you right back here tomorrow. Thanks for watching, everyone.